Should I follow my heart or should I follow the Lord? It gets me. And I'm like, oh, don't follow your heart, because the heart gets you in all kinds of trouble. Having to figure out how to get so many people who want to hear and want their marriage, they want their life, they want their training when they get done with college, they want to have hope when they're in the military facing all kinds of pressure. That's a challenge we welcome, because it's about transforming lives.
What's going on, everybody? Kyle Powers here, Haven Real Estate Group at eXp Realty, here with another episode of Local Legends of the Flint Hills, where business meets community. I've got a very, very special guest with me here today, Barry Park, the lead pastor at University Christian Church. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an honor to be here with you.
I appreciate you carving out time for me. I know you're a very busy man here. So, Barry, let's dive into it. So talk to me a little bit about the history of UCC and what your guys' mission is here.
Absolutely. We were started by some families back in the 60s who got together, and they just wanted to reach this community, and they wanted to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ in and be able to change lives and families and students. And so they started it on Bertrand Street, and then it went from there to 2 or 3 other rentals. Finally, they got the land here on Claflin and built that, and then about every 10 years, they would end up expanding and building a little bit more. Our mission just simply is to love God, love people, bring the two together. And I know that seems kind of like a no-brainer, but it's easy to get into the weeds in any business, and that happens with the church as well. And so we really make everything that we do about saying, how do we help people to love God fully? How do they love people like Jesus loved them? And then how do we introduce them together? Because for us, if we love people well, but we don't introduce them to a God who could change their life, then it doesn't matter how much humanitarian need, it doesn't matter how much we serve, it doesn't matter how many services we do, it doesn't matter how big our church is. If they don't encounter God, then we're kind of all for naught. So that's kind of the basis of our mission and what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, I've been here, 20 years now. I've been in this community, and I've kind of, my wife and my family and I, we join you most Sundays that we can, and just seeing the progression of what you guys have grown to over the years has been a fantastic piece of that. And I think being what you're saying there with your mission, I think that proves by the growth and all that stuff. So what have you seen with that growth that we've had? Where has a lot of that really kind of come from and been able to really kind of change for you guys?
Absolutely. For us, it would be easy to get into the habit of just saying, hey, how can we reshuffle the deck here in the Manhattan community? Yeah. And how can we just get people who are already in churches to come to us? But that's not my heart. My heart is to reach those who aren't anywhere, who don't have that home. And so while we have people who move in, look for a church, and we welcome them, we love to have them, one of my biggest things is seeing people encounter Christ. And so simple things like I do a Bible study, even in a local gym, the foundation, and I just got to know the owner, and I said, hey, how about we just start a Bible study here? And it could be for anybody. And out of that, I'm amazed, even just something that simple, that kind of reflects the heart of who we are. Because we have a large staff. We got a large church. We have, 1,500 people on an average Sunday. But I just hang out in a little gym and do a Bible study for a bunch of gym rats like me. Yeah. And I've had people who are young people get to know me. They come from other countries sometimes. They're like, I'll see you in church Thursday. And I have to stop and go, church? Oh, they mean the Bible study, because that's the first encounter they've had with the body of Christ. And then often they come in. But for us, over the last 10, 12 years, we've averaged 150 to 200 people who give their life to Christ and then respond in baptism every year, which is just that symbolism of going in the water, coming up, saying, I'm all yours. And that to me is one of the biggest, not the attendance, it's It's the transformational lives that we're looking for. And so that kind of plays into that. Also, we have a ministry called Celebrate Recovery. Meets on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, and it's for hurts, habits, and hangups. It's not for the put together, cleaned up, prettied up, and we all come in and are nice. It's just to come in, be real and raw. And that's the heart of our church is we want people to come mess and all. I mean, of course, God cares about us enough. He doesn't want us to leave us in our mess. But he really cares more about our character than he does our comfort. That is a huge thing. And I don't know where you are, but whoever's listening, that's an important thing to understand about God is he takes us as we are, but he does care more about our character than he does our comfort. And so growth, just like going to the gym, just like playing sports, just like going to school, building a business of any kind, it always takes effort and often makes us uncomfortable. And so we're willing to get uncomfortable as a church. That means getting down into the mess sometimes. And as we do, it's great. I just got a message this morning on Instagram from a guy who's just started coming. He's like, my mom and dad did drugs. I started doing drugs at 14. I got married, had 4 kids, had this huge mess, lost everything. And my girlfriend now brought me to church. And I want to kind of go back to the old way, but we're reading the Bible and praying. Should I follow my heart or should I follow the Lord? It gets me. And I'm like, oh, don't follow your heart because the heart gets you in all kinds of trouble. We sing all kinds of songs about, oh, your heart. The heart is just stupid. I mean, that's just something I admit. I'm stupid. We all are. That's why Jesus came to give us life. And I just was able, and I just told him I was so proud of him for reaching out. And honestly, not everybody who's broken or hurting is welcome on a Sunday morning in every church. And that breaks my heart, but that's the heart of our church, is that we welcome anybody. If you're not hurting somebody else, you can come in, mess and all. I mean, obviously, we're going to protect people, but that's my heart. And so that's kind of been reflected in the church, and it's reflected in our leadership and our team, and I just love getting to do that in the community. So I've got to see that. It's been neat.
And it shows. I mean, it definitely shows. I mean, just one with the emotions that you have here. I mean, and what you put out there for people too. So I think you're doing a great job. So keep it up. So you have 2 different ministries, 2 different services that you guys have. You have the contemporary one and the traditional one. Can you talk to us a little bit about the differences of those and why you guys decided to do those?
Oh, absolutely. The original part of our church is all out of the traditional service. I mean, that was the kind of the style back in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then they started reaching lost people, and culture changes. Yeah. The message doesn't change, but the methods have to change. And so the modern culture as a whole didn't really respond as much to the traditional at that point. So they started a contemporary service in a gym we had at the time. And that's now a whole 4-year and a children's facility now. It's been transformed. But they started that with the heart to reach the next generation, to reach out, whether it be to the students, to the fort, to the local community. And then it just started growing and expanding, and more people came to Christ. And then all of a sudden, instead of having a couple of traditional and 1 contemporary, all of a sudden we had 2 contemporary, then we had 3 contemporary, and now at this point we have 3 contemporary and 1 traditional. And the traditional is really our founders. And I love it. We have people from small town, young people that move here, walk into our big service and they're like, oh, and they don't enjoy that. And they love our traditional. And we have the organ and piano, they have the lights. It's a little more smaller feel. But we have those who have been around for generations as well and invested, had the vision to reach this community in that service. And I'm thankful for that. Sometimes you can develop a vision of where you're going and you forget where you came from. And so we honor that first service because it matters to us. They were the founders. They had the vision for everything. Even though 85, 90% of our people at least are in contemporary. And that's wonderful. We just celebrate both. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah. No, and I think it gives options too, like you said, those people because it can be overwhelming. Yeah. I mean, that contemporary one it's a whole production. I love it. Yeah. That's why we go to it. But yeah, so it can be. So I get that. So kind of pivoting to the preschool academy that you guys have here at UCC. Can you expand a little bit about that and what that looks like?
Absolutely. We have about 20 years. We've had a preschool academy here, and it is such a ministry to our young families. Families that come in, and there's limited space in preschools around the community, so there's often a waiting list at all of them, including ours. And I love, my wife has actually worked there, served with, taught classes. We see these beautiful little kids come up to my wife, and they're like, Mrs. Park, and they just kind of like, and I just, they don't want to talk to me. They're scared of me, but they love my wife, and I love what they do. And so they do these programs for those families, and it's interesting. So many of them who come in, they need a place for their child to learn and to grow and to get these basic skills to get ready for school. Yeah. But mom and dad in the process find out, hey, we need some relationship. We need a home. And then they check out on Sunday morning because they saw their kids during the week do something in our, maybe I should come back. And that's been a wonderful service to our community. It's a wonderful ministry and kind of outreach.
Yeah. And needed too. I mean, childcare in general in this town is a massive hole in there.
Yes.
So, no, I think that's a fantastic thing that you guys can bring to us too. And bringing the Lord into it too, it makes that much better for everyone too. Yeah. So, well, and I guess that actually segues really good into my next question of all the different ministries and all the different programs that you guys offer here at UCC. You know, from I think there's one for moms. There's one. I mean, there's one for everything. Can you expand on what those ministries are and what that looks like?
Absolutely. We care tremendously about the whole family. And so that starts with whether it be little babies to then the preschool to our just 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, which is our Sunday morning program for kids, to J12, which is 4th and 5th grade during the week. We have kind of like a special youth group just for them. And then we got our middle school and our high school ministry. And those are just wonderful for, my goodness, there's no way I'd ever want to go back to middle school or high school. That was so, I'm like, oh, those are not good. Yes. But because it's so pivotal and there's so much emotion in you and there's so much confusion and your body's growing. And so we want to reach those kids for Christ, give them a hope, help them to not take that turn that so many of my friends, and I'm sure many of yours did, where you start seeking that in alcohol or drugs or in sex or whatever it might be, and give them something to grasp on and have an identity. And then learn integrity and character. And so they have a lot of fun. They do stuff. I mean, that's through the week. We have all kinds of ministry. I already talked about with Celebrate Recovery. We have a MOPS. It's just mothers of preschoolers. They actually have a group, and we have women's group, men's groups, couples. We have college students who meet. They're just a galore of different meetings. And then we go out and serve in the community too. Yeah. So a couple of times a year, we'll have a serve day, where we contact all kinds of nonprofits like Be Able downtown, dealing with a lot of those who are just needing a break. They might be on the street, or they might be homeless, or they might just be trying to get the next job. We have the Pregnancy Center. We have numerous other, the food pantry. And we'll go around to these different nonprofits and just say, what can we do to serve you? How can we help just bless? So we'll send hundreds of people out, and we'll have a shirt that just says, love the little apple, that you come serve, you get, and we'll say, can I get a shirt? I'm like, yeah, if you come serve. And they're like, well, can I buy one? No, you can't buy one without anything other than getting dirty, because we're called to go. And I think too often the church is like, yeah, come in if you can handle the intimidation. And that's intimidating for people who are struggling, not sure if they're going to be accepted. But when we go out into the community and then we go love the community in these ways, it just opens up the door.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You bring up a good point, and I want to, with a lot of this stuff, we're built to go, right? Yeah. That's what you said. Yeah. So being able to get involved and being able to reach out to somebody within the church, how does somebody watching this video or whatever they want to, how do they get involved, and how do they reach out to you guys to become and get those coveted t-shirts and get those things to be able to come out and serve, right? How do they get a hold of you guys?
Well, it's the simplest way is university.church. That's our website. We also have on either platform the UCC Hub app, and you can download that to your phone. You can get involved with just about any capacity there. We have a way to get connected on there. You can click, you can email, you can just send it right through the Hub app or through the website as well. And we have different ones who will then connect you to the right place. So you don't have to worry about, how do I get a hold of the youth? You can just click connect, and then we'll make sure that you get there. And it's the whole idea of reaching into our community actually comes from our outreach and missions guy, Greg Denver. He'll do missions trips around the world, but we don't believe missions is just around the world. Mission starts right here. So mission starts with our community, and then it starts outside of our community, and then it goes national, and then it's international. And one of the things is with a church that has hundreds of college students, our budget is extremely different than, like, I have a friend over in KC has a church about the same size, and their budget is 3 times our size. Yeah. And so they can do a lot with a lot. We do a lot with a little. But even within that lot, what I'm saying, that what we want to do within our limited budget, we give 20% of our missions budget out for local, national, international. So when people give to the church, they actually are able to say, oh, I'm helping all the way over in Zimbabwe, Africa. I'm helping right here with Be Able. Oh, I'm helping with Shepherd's Crossing. Oh, I'm helping. And that's the neat thing. I know that for me. I believe in sacrificial giving. I do that. I don't just ask people to give. It's something I do. But when I do, I give sacrificially right here, knowing that my money has an impact all over Manhattan and around the world. And that's just a great way to be involved. I mean, my favorite shirt is my Love the Little Apple. I should have wore it today. I was like, I ought to put on something nice, a little bit of a polo instead of a T-shirt. Yeah. But that's kind of the idea. So I'd love for you to get a Love the Little Apple shirt. Next time, you just get on the Hub app or the website, and we'll announce the next serve day, and you can come serve with us. Get dirty, have fun, clean leaves, stack stuff, whatever they end up needing us to do.
Yeah, no, I love that. So Barry, talking about what you have here at the church, and you brought up the point of the triangle, right? Sometimes you have one person that kind of comes down. Can you describe what UCC has and what that leadership team looks like?
Absolutely. See, I've always had a saying, the church has to be bigger than Barry, because that's a mighty small church if it's just Barry sized. And yet I'm the voice often. I'm the main guy who's preaching. I'm the one that starts having ideas and visions, but then you got to push out on that. I'm so thankful for the leadership that I have here as a team. We really do things by team. We talk about a flat and fluid kind of model. In other words, things come out from, not down from. Big difference in responsibility and authority. And so I have a group of what is called elders, which would just be godly guys that I serve with that hold me accountable, that they are officially my boss. I'm one of the team, but I am not over the team. They are officially over me. I'm one voice of many. And then we have a stewardship team of guys and gals who are absolutely gifted. I mean, CEOs, CFOs, and stuff of ministry, accountants and stuff. They serve to make sure that our finances are always held with accountability. It's like, I have never counted an offering. I don't know what people give. I don't want to know, because that's where you can get into trouble. There needs to be safety in that, and being above reproach. And so they do an audit of the books. We have an executive pastor who he works with them, and then he reports every month to both the elders and the stewardship team where we are and how we're doing. And everything has a process and a plan. For me, overseeing the staff, I'm the lead pastor of the pastors, and we got several staff and layers to that. So I have an exec team of 4 other staff members that I work with to oversee everybody and everything. We talk every week, and then we have a full staff meeting as well that they have individual team meetings outside of. And that goes out into the youth, to the children's, the family team, to all those things. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we are. We're kind of a flat and fluid out. because the person, if I'm talking to someone in the nursery, a question I like to ask is say, so what are you doing? And they'll say, well, I'm changing a diaper. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're ministering to the mom in that room so she can hear the gospel. And they're like, and you ask someone out shoveling, say, what are you doing? Well, I'm shoveling snow. No, you aren't. You're making a path so people can come hear the gospel. You're helping. See, it's all team mindset for me. There's, that's the flat and the fluid. It's not, hey, I need someone to go do that. I mean, I had a mentor of mine years ago tell me that if somebody is not willing to clean the toilet, they don't have any right to get on the stage. And so he says, the first thing I do if I'm going to hire someone is I have them clean a toilet, literally. And I'm like, you really? And he's like, if they're not willing to, then I'm not going to give them a voice in front of the church, because it's the sacrificial servant that Jesus has called us to. And people are drawn to that. Yeah. They're drawn to the arrogance for just a little bit, but then they're repelled by it. And we got to be transparent. We got to be real, and we're all in this together.
I love that. I love that, because it's so true. I mean, if you're not willing to clean the toilet, you shouldn't be able to be in the limelight. I mean, that's the kick of it, right? Like, I love that. That's fantastic. I love that piece of that. And what you guys have too, not having again, I'm going to use the triangle down. It's the fluid, the flatness of it. I love that. We're all in this together where it's all equal. So
absolutely
love that. So one of my favorite things of asking in these interviews and in these questions or these videos is, what are your biggest challenges? What have been your challenges, both in the daily and like you just said, your church turns over quite a bit every single year with military and college. And what have been some of your challenges, and how have you overcome those?
Absolutely. And there's the obvious day-to-day things that happen, but the biggest is what you just described. I mean, literally 30%, maybe 40% of our church churns every year. And when I first was coming, I was talking with an older pastor who was here at the time, and he says, you got to understand. And he said it from a negative, not a positive. He's like, it's like preaching to a parade. He says, they're just gone hardly before you even get a chance. And I see it as actually a real blessing. I get to preach to the parade, and we're sending people all over this world. I have people who reach out to me literally internationally and nationally that have been here, had their lives changed, go out to Podunk, who knows where, and then are used by God there. And so to know that we get to have the sending power is just amazing to me, but it's a challenge too. Because right about the time I'm like, yay, we're making a difference in this guy. Oh, it was nice to meet you too. You're going to Poland. And that happens all the time, but it's a huge blessing. And so we're never stagnant. The hard thing is when a church has been around a long time and it's very stable, you know who you can count on. You know exactly who's doing what. There's no question of that. Where when things are moving and churning and happening all the time, you're constantly in leadership training. You're constantly recruiting. You're constantly reaching. And you don't have that, but that's also a good thing, because things, when they settle, just like water that doesn't move, it starts to turn nasty. Moving water is a good thing. And that movement in the church is a healthy thing. And we got all kinds of, when I think back, we happen to do a lot with a little, as I described earlier. When we realized we were out of room, it was almost a dozen years ago. Leaders were talking to me and saying, Barry, we got to build. And I just had walked in, literally just started here in Manhattan. And I'm like, could I get to know the people before we start talking about building? And then about a year into it, we had added services. We had bought bleachers. We had bleachers we'd pull out and people would sit on and make all kinds of noise. We were setting up, tearing down. We had a foyer that was about the size of my office, literally. It just all kinds of mess. And I'm like, okay, guys, we got to build. And I walked into the children's building that's now our youth building, great youth building, terrible children's building, because we had, a couple of hundred kids and their parents dropping them off, picking them up. In this small little building, they were telling me how bad it was. I'm not preaching. I'm like, oh, when I walk in during the week, it didn't seem that bad. Sunday morning, one time I walked in and we hadn't started building yet. I walked in and went, oh, I'm like, yeah, we got to build. But when you build It's expensive, and there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into that of the whole church. So we had our gym. We turned that into a foyer and a whole new children's area up above. That meant we lost our bathrooms for a whole year. We had a trailer outside in the parking lot. People had to go to the bathroom in. We had to walk around that. Then we built a new auditorium. It's just been difficult. People have to walk when they come. We have, where most churches have a nice parking lot right outside the church. You park in, you walk in. We have a couple of parking lots there, but often you'll drive in, drive around, there won't be a parking spot. You drive across the street, we have parking all along a business center here that we have co-ownership parking in, but all the way down, I mean, it's from the corner up here at the bank, all the way down to Nichols Chiropractic and by the eye center here and everything. And so it's kind of a nightmare on Sunday sometimes, and getting people to walk through and walk across the street, and that can be a challenge. But for me, those challenges are good challenges. There are bad challenges, like walking into the youth building this morning, having a pipe that broke from ice. It froze a pipe. It shot through 2 walls and then 15 foot into another room. And I'm like, oh my word, that's not a good challenge. Yeah. But having to figure out how to get so many people who want to hear and want their marriage, they want their life, they want their training when they get done with college, they want to have hope when they're in the military facing all kinds of pressure. That's a challenge we welcome, because it's about transforming lives. Yeah.
And even some of those bad challenges are still, like you said it before, like one of the challenges you're running into with this pipe bursting today is that you are having to figure out how to still have that youth ministry tonight. Yep. Well, that's a good challenge to have, realistically,
it's like,
right?
Let's go.
And you got to get there because you want to be there for these kids. So I think it's a challenge that helps you grow. It helps you become a better person. I think that's all big there, right?
Yes.
I think having it. If it was all easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so talk to us then. What does the future of UCC look like? And I want like short range vision for the next coming weeks, and I want like the next 10 years. What does that look like for you guys?
That is a great question. See, for me, more than anything else, is right now we've had a year-long vision of saying, what do we do to really equip and bless and transform the local family? We have worked really hard in ministering to college and to a lot of our young adults, and that'll be ongoing. But we wanted to grab hold of the heart of especially healing some of the brokenness in homes, because that's just rampant, not in other places around the country. It's right here. I've seen a lot of that. And so we started talking about, we had our first marriage conference a couple of years ago. It was a blessed, wonderful time. And then we said, okay, we have another one. And then now we have one coming up in just 2 weeks. If you want to jump online, university.church, you can go and sign up for it's marriage and parenting seminar coming up right away in 2 weeks. And 3 weeks actually. Yeah. And I love that. I'm excited about it. But it's about saying, hey, how can we help build the home? So a lot of that vision has been purposed in how we do our ministry. It's how we do our whole small groups. It's more than a Sunday. It's getting out into the homes during the week. We have I'm guessing 60 or 70 small groups meeting in homes all around the community. And that's where families are coming together. And then families bond together with other families. And then when one is weak, another one can be strong. And that just changes. I mean, my best friends are in my life group. I meet with them tonight, and I love them. I have gone through hell with them, literally, on this earth. Right. When I hit bottom about 7-8 years ago, I was working too hard. I saw every challenge as something to just attack and go after. I burned myself out. I got up to where I wanted to give, and I'm working for God, and I didn't honor the Sabbath that I told everybody else to do. Well, I'm working for God. I can't take a Sabbath, and I can't take time off. And so, my goodness, it transformed me, because I went in and I remember talking with my life group, talking with my leadership, and I was broken at the time. And it was hurt. It was just a very painful time in my life. I didn't know when someone described putting like a wet blanket over, and they say, man, I just feel like I'm suffering under a wet blanket. And before I went through it, I was like, well, stop it kind of thing. And I'm like, you can't do that. Well, when you're hurting that way, the only way to get better is in community. And it was when I was weak, I had others who were strong. And I have the honor of when they're weak now, I get to be strong. And that's really my vision of what we've tried to do, is to help those who are hurting. That's why our T-shirts, one of the things we put out now that people can buy, I'll say as a joke, is one that says, no perfect people. And that's just what we believe. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to come. And that's our shorter vision. For a longer vision, I just want to continue to reach. We've been building into an online community that has just transformed. Obviously, the whole world went online in 2020. Yeah. Our church had started that at the time. I did not realize how much it was needed, not just for our local, but every student that I have, every military family that's here, they often have somebody who's there. And where they are there, they often don't have a church. They might get deployed to the middle of a desert. They still have the internet. And so they have a family, a mom and a kid, or a dad and the kids, and the mom is over here, either one, separated out by being deployed. And now we can bring them together and stay together. I have soldiers who've started up Bible studies when they get just moved out on their own. They were single, but I'm like, do you have church there on? Well, no. And I'm like, you can start church, and we give them so they can play our stream, and then they have a little service. We give them Bible study material, and so it's allowed the church to start spreading. And I have parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters of students who come, who it's broadened the view of how I see church. Church isn't just who's in the building. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds who are watching online, and it's so cool because mom and dad will come in maybe once a year for Parent Day at K-State. And then all of a sudden they'll tell me, he said, you don't realize you're my pastor. And I'm like, I'm like, wow, really? And they're like, yeah, we watch every Sunday. Our kid attends on Sunday. And then we're able to connect and have something to hold our family together, even though we're separated. So that's been kind of a neat long range. And then we just continue. We have, 4 services going right now. We continue to look, okay, what do we do next? And so we're always planning out further. And we just love reaching people. And so I love seeing that family ministry happen. I love seeing our online ministry happen. I love seeing us reach in and making a difference. We got people who are now going with, not just giving to missions, but they're giving their life now. One of my biggest goals is to raise up people who then go, not just go out and be a business and I got to baptize them here and I got to see them grow up in faith, but they go out and they're being sent out. And I really want to bring up that next generation of people, because all the way back when I was a kid, I had someone say, you might be a preacher someday. And I'm like, nuh-uh. The last thing I wanted to be was a preacher. But people spoke into me, life. And then that's why I'm here today, is that people spoke that into me, and then God transformed me. And I want to speak into people so that they can go out and have that same impact wherever they go. So that's one of the things I've adopted. We moved from, we preach to the parade, to, hey, we get to preach to the parade. And this parade is going everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and that right there, and you're being able to reach so much more. Like that in itself is just absolutely powerful now.
Yeah.
I know I have my own family members that they use the online stuff all the time. So it's fantastic. Sorry, you kind of got me there. Before we kind of wrap anything up, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the video?
So often people think, well, that's nice for them. Yeah, they don't know my mess. Yeah, they say no perfect people, but my mess stinks worse than, no. I don't know where you've been. I don't know where you've gone. I don't know how many regrets you have, but I can tell you this, we all have them. And there's not sin that's too deep or too ugly that God can't redeem. And we really want to be a part of that. So if you're looking for a place to call home and you want to know, would you be welcome? You are. Will you be challenged? Yes. But it's going to be with love. I share regularly that all communication, whenever you're ministering, it needs to be done in kind of three parts. There needs to be truth, there needs to be also humility, and there needs to be love. Because if you give humility and love, but you don't give truth, that's a lie, and that's not loving, and that's our society right now. So much of our society is like, oh, you can't say that. Well, you shouldn't say it wrong. You shouldn't say it harshly. You need to say it with humility and with love, but you got to tell the truth. To not tell the truth is a lie, and that is not beautiful. But also on the other side, and this is where I know that you might have been hurt. I know I was hurt as a kid often by this. Sometimes the church uses truth, and it's truth without humility and love, and it just becomes a weapon. Without truth, it's a lie. That's not pretty. And if you don't have humility and love with the truth, it's true, but truth can be ugly. It can be painful. It can ruin lives. And we don't do that. We really work hard. We're not perfect. We'll mess up. I'm sure I'll disappoint you, and you'll disappoint me. I'll forgive you, you forgive me, and we move forward together. But if you'll come, I think that you might hear something. The crazy thing, when people walk into a church, and literally, do we have lights and do we do different things that it might be like, oh, that's kind of bright. And yes, but I'm going to use an analogy. If you've ever been inside a house and it's been dark, curtains have been closed, and it's a beautiful sunshine day outside, when you walk outside, it's like, oh, this is almost painful. And when someone's lived a dark and broken life and they walk into the church, it is a little bit, oh, it's just almost painful. And that's just because you get used to what's normal, and you hold on to what's comfortable, even if what's comfortable is poisonous. And that's the sad thing. It will be a little uncomfortable walking in potentially at first, not because of how you're going to be treated. You're going to be treated with love and respect and kindness. I really talk about we need to see people, and I want you to know if you walk in, I'm going to see you if you come up to me. I'm not going to be looking past you. I'll look at you. And I hope everyone in our church is the same way when you talk with them. But I want you to know that even though it'll be a little awkward, I got my awkward too. I got my junk. If we're all transparent and real together, we're stronger together. God didn't create us to walk alone. He created us to walk together.
Yeah, love that. And yeah, again, you guys, this has been a really fun. I appreciate you, Barry, joining me today and let me kind of be here, because it just kind of reminds a lot, right? Like we all have to make sure we adjust, and we all make sure that we continue to kind of pushing forward and pointing the right direction. So, thank you again so much for joining me today, Barry. I appreciate it. And for those of you watching, I will tell you this from my own personal experience. There's a moment in time when I was in a very dark spot in my own life, had a lot of stuff happening. I walked through these doors. I came in there. I don't know if you even know that. You probably don't know this. Walked through those doors and came in here. And Barry, I would tell you, you are probably one of the best pastors and preachers that I've ever had the opportunity of being around. And I appreciate what you're doing because what you do here, you feel it, right? And I think you feel the passion that you have and the want to help people and be there for them. And so I'm for you watching, come in, just see what they have here. It is absolutely worth it. My wife and I came here, 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago now, when we were still in college, and it's been our home, and we continue to come back and love it here. And it's and when we are in those dark moments and when we have those opportunities, it's like, okay, well, that's why we're there, because we haven't been going, we haven't come in and gotten around the people of like-mindedness. And so I challenge you, for whoever's watching this, don't be afraid to come in and say hi to these guys, because I promise you will be met with something that you've probably never felt before, and something that will help guide you through that. Again, Barry, I appreciate your passion and your willingness to do what you do, because you feel it, and I appreciate that. So we went a little different there, but to you guys watching, thank you so much for watching the video today. I really do appreciate it. If you do like this content, number one, please come by and see University Christian Church. Come by and see Barry. Come by and see his leadership team. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that from personal experience. I promise you that. And then as always, if you enjoy this content, go and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that little bell so you get notified of any future videos. And please, please, please share this video with somebody that just is maybe thinking about it, maybe wanting to know what it is about, and maybe wanting to know a little bit more about Barry and his team and what they have here, because I promise you, you will not be disappointed in what you find and what you find when you open these doors here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, appreciate it.